Okay, so definitely the monthly payment is 125. Okay, and this will be deducted from your checking account. Okay, every 9th of the month.
Okay.
Okay, now definitely Alliance, the way they work, okay, they're gonna require a percentage out of the year to activate your policy. So technically what they're requesting today is 180 to 250. Now the 180 to 250, let me explain exactly how that works. Let's say as of today, you pay the 180 to 250, it activates your policy, okay, and also that covers the first month of 125. So technically, as soon as you leave the office, it activates the coverage. So it guarantees you to leave with insurance. So if you get pulled over, you're involved in an accident, your policy is active as of right now. So 180 to 250, that's technically what the insurance company, which is Alliance, that's what they're requesting. How does that sound?
So is that like a down payment or?
Well, it's not necessarily a down payment. Technically, the way you can look at this is the following. Okay, now you're making payments, right? But it's a 12-month policy, correct?
Correct.
So let's say, for example, 12 months. There's 12 payments, right?
Right.
So you're making 12 payments throughout the whole year. Okay. Now let's use a calculator real fast, and I'm just gonna do some basic math for you. So technically, for example, let's just assume in between. Let's assume that it's 200 today. Okay, just for the sake of the scenario.
Okay.
So 125 times 11. Okay, that's 1375, and let's assume that it's 200 today. Just once again, just for the sake of the scenario. So technically, the total for the year is technically 1575.
Okay.
So this is the total. This is what you're gonna pay at the end of the year.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So the way the insurance companies break their payments, they'll require, let's say, anywhere from 15 to 20% to date. So in this case, the 15 to 20%, and the reason why I'm not giving you an exact percentage because I still need to run the information. Okay.
Okay.
So technically, the 15% to 20% is technically calculated within the 180 to 250 today. So the 180 to 250 is not a deposit, it's not a down payment, it's not additional to what you're going to pay throughout the whole year. It's already calculated in the total. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So what they do is they require that 15 to 20% today, and then they leave the remaining percentage, okay, and they divide it into the 11 payments, which in this case is going to be 125. So 180 to 250, that's technically the total. That's what Alliance is requesting. Once again, it's a one-time payment. You never got to pay this in the future. It guarantees coverage as soon as you leave, and once again, it covers your first month.
But I've never had to pay like a payment up front like that. I had State Farm for like 2-3 years, and I only made my monthly payment. I've never had to make a payment like that.
Okay. Now, and you know what? You're absolutely right. Okay, let me tell you exactly how they work. Now, you said State Farm?
Yes.
State Farm, okay. Now, State Farm, just AAA, for example. I'll just write 3 as an example. Farmers, for example. Now, the way they work, and you're right, the majority of the time, all they require to start your policy is the first month. So, for example, you were paying how much? 175, or how much was it?
179.
179. So let's say, for example, you paid 170. You paid 179, correct?
Yes.
And your policy was active,
Yes.
and you left with insurance.
Right.
Did you have a balance?
No.
And how much was your next monthly payment?
179.
179, right? So technically, what they do is they waive the activation. Okay, but let's look at the big picture. Okay, let's do a little bit of math. Now, the majority of the companies, let's say like State Farm, AAA, Farmers, they don't require an initial payment, okay? But what they do is they offer a premium that's a lot higher. So let's do the math, for example. 179 times 12, right?
Right.
So we're looking at 2148. So let's say 2150. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Just
that's
round it off, just for the sake of the scenario. So technically 2150. That's how much you were paying for how many years?
3.
For 3 years, right? So technically, you've had this policy for 3 years. Now, the option that I have that's available as of today, okay, yes, you will be responsible to pay more than the monthly payment, okay? I'm not saying you're not. You're going to be responsible to make a payment of 180 to 250 today, okay? But the total is roughly within, let's say, 1575. So let's say 1500. So which one is cheaper? Which one is lower?
This one, the one you're offering.
Okay, and the 1575 is not accurate because remember, I was just giving you an example. What if if the total was 200. We still haven't completely processed the total, so it may be a couple dollars less than the 200 or a couple dollars more, because it is 180 to 250. But let's just assume, once again, for the sake of the scenario, that is 1575. 2150 minus 1575, I'm technically saving you about $600. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So let's say, for example, now you're telling me today, you know what, Rudy, I'm not satisfied making a payment more than the 125, because in reality, I never made a payment higher than the monthly payment with State Farm.
Right.
Okay? But the reality is that you've been paying over $600 for the last 3 years. Roughly. Okay? So if we multiply this times 3, you've been paying almost $2,000, let's say $1,800 more. So technically the $1,800, you have been overpaying for insurance.
Okay.
So what am I doing? I'm showing you the value, okay, of making a payment of 180 to 250 today.
Okay.
Now, let's say, for example, like I mentioned, you had State Farm. You were making payments of 179. You didn't make an initial payment. You just made the monthly payment, but you've been making those payments for 12 months, okay, which is 2150 through the course of 3 years, okay. Now I have an option, roughly 1575, which is roughly $600 less, $600 lower than the 2150, which means $600 of extra money that you've been throwing away. So that's about $1,800 throughout the course of 3 years. So literally today, I'm just showing you that making a payment of 180 to 250 is not something negative. In reality, it's a value. The value that you're getting, okay, is beneficial for you. The value that you're getting is that you're going to be saving $600 every single year. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, let's say, for example, the question you need to ask yourself, would it be fair, okay? Would it be fair? Would it be adequate, okay, for me to make a payment of 180 to 250, okay, to keep a monthly payment that's 125, which is lower, which is roughly about, what, $50 lower than the 175.
I mean, no.
The 180 to 250, would it be beneficial for me to make a payment of 180 to 250 when I'm saving $600?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So would it be beneficial for you to make a payment of 180 to 250, which is a one-time payment, a one-time investment? You will never make a payment of this amount in the future as long as your policy is active.
Okay.
So would you be okay making 180 to 250 to save $50 a month?
Yeah.
Would it be fair for you to make a payment of 180 to 250 when you're saving $600?
Yes. I mean, not for the company, but it would be
I mean,
for
it
me.
would be beneficial for you.
Right.
I mean, well, either way, the insurance company requires the 180 to 250 to actually activate your policy.
Mm-hmm.
And let me give you a different type of scenario, okay? Now, the reason why they require more today. Let's look at the big picture. Now you're getting full coverage, right?
Right.
And remember, the only thing that I'm doing right now, I'm adding value to the option, because I want to make sure that by the time you leave, regardless of the option that you choose, you leave comfortable, you leave satisfied. Okay, that's the most important part for me. Okay, for my customers to leave knowledgeable of their options and also satisfied with the fact that at least they're making the best decision. Okay, maybe before we started reviewing all the information, 180 to 250 was very, it was too much.
Yes.
Okay, but now that we look at the situation, you're saving $50 a month, you're saving $600 every year. Technically, it's cheaper than what you were paying before. Why not make an investment of one payment to keep something that's going to save you money throughout the whole year?
Right.
Okay, now let me give you a different scenario so you can look at the big picture. Now, let's say, for example, 180 to 250, correct?
Yes.
Now, let's just imagine in 30 days, if something was to happen in 30 days, okay? Your monthly payment is 125.
Okay.
Now, what's the value of your car, roughly?
6,000-7,000.
6,000-7,000. Let's say 8,000. Thought it was a little bit higher, but that's fine. Let's just use 8,000, okay? Maybe you've been driving the car so much, and you've been driving the car in bad areas that you feel the value is a lot less. Okay? But based on the Kelly Blue Book, the vehicle is worth a little bit over 10,000. But that's fine. Let's use 8,000 as an example. Okay. So let's say, for example, okay, another way of looking at this. Now, within 30 days, the insurance company is only going to generate a certain amount of money from you. Okay. So let's say the 125, if it's State Farm or Farmers, or 180 to 250, if it's obviously Alliance. In this case, it's Alliance. Now, the way the State Farm and the way they work, they're going to get their money regardless throughout the year. Okay. Now, the way Alliance, the system that Alliance offers, they want to generate a little bit more money today. So just in case within the first 30 days, let's say if you have an accident and it's a total loss, okay, or if your vehicle's stolen, then the company's at least collecting enough to cover the vehicle. Does that make sense?
Right.
So let's say, for example, if let's say, would it be fair for you to make a payment of 125, okay, today, and then for you to call your insurance company and your company to tell you, look, we're only going to cover 50% of the value of the car? What would you say?
I wouldn't be happy. I mean, that's the point of insurance, right?
So technically, if you make a payment of 125 today, you have an accident, your vehicle, let's say it's a total loss, and they only want to pay $4,000. You wouldn't be happy?
No, definitely not.
Why not? They're still covering at least 50% of the vehicle.
But I mean, that's the point of insurance. They're supposed to cover my vehicle, right?
But you just decided to pay 125. You were against paying anything on top of the monthly payment.
Right.
So would it be fair?
No,
Why not?
because I mean, I'm only paying my monthly payment. I'm not paying anything else.
But would it be fair for you to get 50% of the value of the car?
No.
Because you're expecting to get, because you're getting full coverage today, right?
Right.
So technically, it's not fair for you to pay whatever you're gonna pay and only get 50%, right?
Right.
So technically, what the insurance companies want to do, okay, they want to offer you something that's real. They want to offer you something that, we just use this word, that is fair. Something that's adequate for the value of the car. Now, 180, if you make the payment of 180 to 250, and you have an accident and your vehicle's a total loss, then the company is gonna guarantee the value of the car.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's like, for example, you're paying for what you're getting.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, I'll just give you just a small example. Let's say, for example, I'll just use something basic. Let's say one of those blenders, for example. Okay,
Mhm.
you know they have so many different models. They have the Ninja, they have Ultra Spin. I don't know. They have a few. Okay?
Yeah.
So technically, the way they work based on cost, which equals value. Okay, so for example, I'll just give you an example, and this is relevant to insurance, by the way. Okay, even though I'm using something that has nothing to do with insurance. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, there's one that may cost you $40.
Okay.
The value, real basic, 6 months or less. Meaning that's what you're gonna get out of it.
Okay.
Or you get one for 125. You could, it has a lot of features. Okay. It's gonna last you a couple of years. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So technically, someone that's interested in getting this product is going to have to make a decision. Do I want something short term or do I want something long term? They're not going to be able to pay $40, okay, and have a product that's going to last them for years,
Right.
okay, because you're paying for what you get.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So technically, someone that wants something more of a long term is going to invest a little bit more.
Right.
In your case, if you want a policy to give you the coverages that you need technically to cover those $8,000, you're going to have to pay the actual cost for that value,
Right.
the cost for those coverages, the cost for a package that's going to offer you full coverage for $8,000. So in this case, a company that offers you $125 today to start the policy may only offer you, let's say, $4,000 worth of coverage. But that's not what you need, right?
Right.
You need $8,000.
Yes.
Okay, so the 180 to 250, that's going to allow you to leave with insurance. Okay, full coverage on the vehicle is going to cover $8,000. You're not going to have any issues as long as you pay the deductible. Okay, but at least you leave with the coverage that you need.
Okay.
Okay, so 180 to 250. How does that sound?
That sounds okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me run the information so we get the total. You definitely have at least a 180 with you today?
Yes.
Okay, so at least you're able to make a payment of 180.
Yes.
Okay, so let me run the information and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, thank you.